Many years have passed since the days when Hank Williams boozed and womanized when Hank Williams boozed and womanized his way across the American South.
June, honey, I got a song I wrote just especially for you. I want to sing it. Just for you.
What is it?
It's called Hey Good Looking.
Oh.
And while there's a lot of good music out there, many fans will agree things just aren't the same as they used to be. I mean, you turn on the FM radio and it seems it's all pop all the time. But as a wise man once said, pay attention to history or we're doomed to repeat it. Once upon a time, in the late 1980s, the genre was far removed from its roots, and people were calling it a credibility crisis. It got so bad, many were driven to consider the very real possibility that country music, real country music, was absolutely dead. But a shift was coming, and from the ashes of a dying genre, a way of life really, came a new crew of musicians that weren't going to accept that selling out was the only way to gain a fan base in America. So today we are looking at that story of a very special year in country music history. Today we are talking about the class of '89, the year that Garth Brooks, Travis Tritt, Alan Jackson, and Clint Black changed country music forever. Before we dive in, please give this video a thumbs up to show support. And subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. Now, you ready? Let's step in that time machine and head back to a very special year, 1989, to find out.
What happened?
A little background. While country music is not perfect today, it's important to remember there are countless country musicians who are famous for making country music. Duh, you might say. But I don't think this was always the case. While there has always been folks putting out decent stuff, back in the 80s, it was widely accepted that you had two career choices. You make honest music for honky-tonk purists, or you sell out and make pop music, or country pop if you say. Throw in some cheesy strings for good measure and make it big. For all but a few very lucky performers, this was just the bargain. Neo-Traditionalism. The Nashville industry has long been known for pulling the longest strings in the game. More than any genre, country music is subject to the whims and designs of record execs, who are certain they have music down to an exact science.
It's science.
So the American popular song industry became more and more streamlined. And so did the country music industry, which pushed more and more artists into that pop world. But they forgot one huge thing, that when music comes around that really resonates with real, regular Americans, people take notice, even if it doesn't fit into that pop star box. My case in point, Randy Travis. With his sad grin and his cowboy crooning, this helpless romantic didn't look like anybody's idea of a successful artist. Growing up in rural North Carolina, washing dishes in dance halls, and playing old-school traditional country music. At that time, executives didn't think that was enough to grow a fan base. But when he sang, people listened.
I told you so.
And it wasn't just Randy. Reba McEntire and Ricky Skaggs were also building devoted followings on the same principle, that grandpa's tunes were really cool again. They were shunted to the side, categorized as neo-traditional. And there is something true about that statement. While their music resonated with young folks, it was fundamentally traditional music they were playing. They weren't pushing the boundaries of the genre into the future. No, it would take somebody else to do that, and that's where we got the country class of 1989. Clint Black. Clint Black is certainly a well-respected performer today. However, that wasn't always the case. Clint had to work for years as an iron worker and fishing guide just to make enough money to perform. But while he quickly proved his talent in the local scene, Clint just wasn't getting big-time opportunities in the mainstream. You see, Clint just wasn't what record executives were looking for in a star. He didn't fit the current country singer archetype. He was a Roy Rogers lookalike. Not exactly the most current reference, but you purists certainly know. And Clint was the real deal. He wrote all his songs, so when Clint got his chance, it wasn't in a way anybody expected. Clint eventually got a meeting with Bill Ham, who was known for managing ZZ Top. It was through that angle, not the mainstream country route, that Clint got recognized. Well, Killin' Time debuted in May of 1989. And on that record, Clint sounded more like Merle Haggard and George Jones than the current radio mainstays. Rather than the schlock audiences were accustomed to, it called back to country icons like the Grand Ole Opry. Just listen to tracks like This Old House, my personal favorite from the album.
Yeah, this old house will always be home.
But although it was a departure from what people thought that fans wanted, it was a huge hit. And Clint wrote or co-wrote every single track on the album. His authenticity was evident. The single A Better Man took off, and with this one album, Clint earned his place in country music history. It wasn't long before Clint was dating Lisa Hartman, proving that even a humble country guy could rise to stardom if given a chance. But this was just the start of a huge shift. Garth Brooks. In some ways, Garth Brooks couldn't have been any more different than Clint Black. While Clint, the Texas cowboy, dropped out of high school and gained most of his experience working blue-collar jobs, Brooks was a college graduate, an Oklahoma businessman. So when Garth's debut album, No Fences, dropped the very same week as Clint's, it failed to take off in the same way, and it makes a bit of sense. As Killin' Time dominated the airwaves, No Fences languished. So Garth had a lot of time on his hands to think about where he was. Maybe he just wasn't what people wanted in a country star. While many artists were concerned with putting out an easily digestible product, Garth had bigger ambitions. He was always obsessed with creating a spectacular stage show where he would run around like a rock star. For him, country music wasn't just about sales, it was about creating an experience for the listener.
The sun comes up.
But sometimes big things take time, and months later, when Garth dropped the single The Dance, everything changed. And within 2 years, it changed not just Garth's life, but the trajectory of country music. Garth wasn't just the biggest star in country music, he was the biggest musician, period.
It's the wildest thing, and then in the flip of a heart, it goes to this nice, tender, soft thing.
Travis Tritt. Just like his classmates, Travis Tritt wasn't exactly what people were looking for in a country star at the time. I mean, the guy didn't even wear a cowboy hat, with a bad boy image and vocals that were sometimes more Ray Charles than radio country. Travis was an unexpected hit. He was just a Georgia kid with a chip on his shoulder. When he got a chance at a record deal, his contract mandated that he'd have a chance to record a few singles, and if none of them took off, he wouldn't even be able to record that full album. Just think about the amount of pressure that would put on a young artist. But as it turned out, Travis only needed one chance to earn his keep in the industry. His first single, Country Club, was an immediate top 10 hit. And his second single, Help Me Hold On, hit number 1.
How did it feel to write a number 1 song?
That was just a dream come true. I mean, that's terrific. When you know that you created something that went to number 1, that's great.
With his album, Travis had sent another message to the country mainstream. Country guys didn't have to fit into a radio singular mold. But while these 3 singers alone made a massive impact on the scene, there was one more singer that debuted in 1989, and I do believe we are saving the best for last. Alan Jackson. Technically, Alan was a little late to the party. His debut album, Here in the Real World, didn't officially debut until 1990, but it took a lifetime of luck, good and bad, to get him to that place. 1989 was a busy year, but Alan Jackson wasn't too concerned with the headlines. He had recently moved to Nashville and was working in a mailroom while his wife was a flight attendant. He was grinding on the circuit, but just wasn't getting much attention. By a stroke of luck, his wife ran into Glenn Campbell on a flight, and she ended up getting the young singer a deal. His first single, Blue-Blooded Woman, failed to make a huge splash, but the label decided to give him another chance. And this is when he released Here in the Real World. Who knows if the label bosses were inspired by the recent successes of Garth, Clint, and Travis? It's impossible to say. But one thing is for sure, the music industry was once more ready to take a chance on a real country music icon. The album was a huge success, and the single I'd Love You All Over Again hit number 1. The rest, as they say, is history. Short term, these debut albums dominated the charts and helped define the sound of early 90s country in America. Bigger picture, they started the careers of 4 of the biggest names in country music. Garth Brooks alone, of course, is one of the best-selling musicians of all time. But if we just take a step back, this memorable year had some even larger effects. Here's just a short list of musicians that arrived in the wake of this miraculous splash. Brooks and Dunn, Trisha Yearwood, Billy Ray Cyrus, Winona Judd, Tim McGraw, Faith Hill, Shania Twain, Leanne Rimes, and the Dixie Chicks. Country music and America, quite simply, would never be the same again. But that's enough of me. Now we want to hear from you. Who is your favorite artist out of this incredible class of '89? Which debut album is the best? Which did you have a copy of? And have you seen Travis Tritt, Clint Black, Garth Brooks, or Alan Jackson live in concert? Get in the comments and tell us all things the country class of '89. Thank you so much for watching, and before you go, give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to our channel and come back often so we can keep telling you what happened.
Please tell me you're going to Nashville.
Get in.